Watching Kyle's unboxing videos again?
Yeah, he always finds the coolest... No way! A robot dog? Gotta ask where he got it.
Or use your Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Just draw a circle around the dog on your screen, and it shows you where to buy it right in the app.
Whoa, I just learned a new trick. And that for once, I beat Kyle to the next big thing.
Circle it, find it with the new Galaxy S24 Ultra and circle the search with Google. Get yours now at Samsung.com. Internet connection required. Results may vary based on visuals.
A fabulous free kick from Leighton Baines. Dawson, oh, what a finish from Greg Dawson, it's 2-0. It's scored by Tim Cahill in injury time for Everton. Matheson, the 16-year-old, to Wilbraham, the 40-year-old. Stunning from James Rodriguez. And here into Henderson! And Ian Henderson, right on half-time.
Welcome to the first episode of Men in Blue podcast. My name's Greg. I'm a Rochdale supporter. I'm joined by Jimmy and Matt, Everton supporters together. How are you doing, folks? You okay?
Not bad. Good
Good
Very
stuff.
good, mate. On this fine Wednesday evening.
2-0 up at Leeds United, which means naturally we're going to lose 4-2 in the second half. So,
What are your expectations, Jimmy, of that match? Do you think you should be winning that game? Or I know you're 2-0 up, but...
It's 2-0 up at half time, so what will happen is Marcelo Bielsa will put 5 full-backs up front, because he's a tactical genius that everyone loves, even when they lose to Crawley Town. And we're going to lose 4-2. And Patrick Bamford's going to channel his inner Ronaldinho.
What do they call him? Bam Bam? Somebody calls him Bam Bam, don't
I have
they?
no idea what they call him, but...
I like Bam Bam. Before the game, I'd have bitten your hand off for a point.
Yeah.
Because Leeds can be a team, I think, either way, that 1 week United get improved, they get absolutely hammered and play terribly, or they can go, like the Leicester game at the weekend, and play brilliantly. Fair play to them.
Big turn with Goodison, didn't they? Big beats us 1-0 in a game that they had to win. And this was, not the last team to Goodison deserved to win, obviously, but I think, they're one of those where they're all boom or bust. They have a fantastic, even in defeat, when they went to Anfield first game of the season, they were pretty solid, and although they conceded 4, but they had to either do that or, like you say, get absolutely shafted by Mark Wright and Crawley Town. So, they're such a weird team.
I'm just looking at, basically, they don't do draws, Leeds.
No. They're sat pretty much where you'd expect them to be. They're sort of mid-table-ish. I don't know if they're like 9th or 10th, 11th, something like that at the moment. I haven't got the table in front of me. But considering they're either amazing 1 week and then terrible the next, it's kind of levelled off into this mid-table mediocrity, but it's like really entertaining.
I think they're 11th. I've just checked the league. 11th.
But I think if you're a Leeds fan, it's not a bad place to be in, because you're not expecting to
if you're a Leeds fan,
top 6, top 4.
If you're a Leeds fan, you take 17th and stay in this league. Personally, but I think they're better than that. I think they're much better than that. I think they're a much bigger club and should be fighting relegation. But given the Premier League for 16 years, they really, they would take just surviving this season and then building and then pressing for Europe in a few years.
Yeah, I mean, he's built a team there which is tough to play against, most importantly, but a team that if you get ahead, I think it's United proved that, albeit yes at Old Trafford, but if you get ahead of them and if you get early goals in particular, they can struggle to get it back into games. But yeah, I mean, if they hold on to this and 2-0 up, I'll be delighted. After Saturday's performance, but we were torrid on Saturday. It was a really, really... I was bored, which is saying
was
a lot.
It that bad?
Certain games of football,
I didn't watch it, thankfully, but
Greg, it was...
Bad.
Certain games you watch, I mean, the West Ham game was a good one, and you're waiting for the goal, you're waiting for the away team to get a goal.
The amount of times,
They could play all day and not get a goal. It was just... And that's the issue, I think, with Everton at the moment, is that we played the likes of Wolves away. This first half is proving us either way. And we go away to teams, and there's an element of like, well, I'll take a point. And they turn up. They seem to have this weird thing away from Goodison, where they play better. And
First game of the season, I was thinking we're going to get hammered here away at Tottenham, and only go and win. And it's like, and then you go and then...
They won that game, they won it. Well, I mean, 1-0 was, probably a fair result, judging on the chances, but we created more. I think Richarlison had a chance in the first half. It's a really weird watch this season because Carlo is the Don, and I do love what he does. I mean, when he needs to be, after Saturday, for example, he came out and said, that was terrible, that was awful, and they know that straight away. What he does is commands respect, and he's the first manager, I think, really since David Moyes, probably proven true now with him and West Ham, who I think commands respect in that dressing room. The likes of Martinez, Koeman in particular, Marco Silva, didn't have that respect of players, of higher players, and the fact that we bring in someone like James Rodriguez, which was nuts, because the fact that he played for Everton is just weird.
Yeah,
but it takes someone like him to come in and go, well, you know what, I don't want him, he's a bang average player, I want to go for him. And yeah, it's a weird deal. It's a free transfer and whatever else. But it sent a message that actually, look, we want to attract these type of players and we can give you what you want. And he's building a good team around it. It's still, I think, 3 or 4 players short from being a team which is going to challenge the top 4. It needs depth. It needs quality and depth. If you look at the bench on Saturday in particular, there was kids on it. There was all sorts on it. Of who can we bring on up the field that was going to make a change? If you look at the top sides, look at City, look at Liverpool in particular, they've all got strength and depth. Even Liverpool with half their back 6.
Not was Liverpool's back 4 defence at the moment, mind you, but we'll go on to transfers and stuff later. But I think you made a point there with depth. I mean, it was quite telling. A lot of players that we've been fortunate in that we've had quite a lot of success in the under-23 ranks the last few years when in the Premier League too. And conversely, we then got and blooded quite a few young players, like Benny Binningham, obviously like Tom Davis has come through, we had Kieran Dowell, we've had obviously Andy Gordon and that, and a lot of them I think have been just a bit too raw, a bit too soon. And it's been telling by the fact, again, we'll talk about transfers later, but Binningham has gone on loan to Derby, Gordon's gone on loan to Preston on deadline day, and it shows that they're good players, but they're not there yet. And to be a top side, you have to have at least 2, even 3 players in a position that can compete. Front, we've had a lot of, I mean, this is pre-Mashir, we've had a lot of shoddy signings up front, and Cenk Tosun being one of many that you just think,
I absolutely love that
much
name.
money on him, and Josh King remains to be seen. But I think Ricardo is the first manager since Mashiri's come in that's actually matched the ambition of the owner's spending. It's not been like we used to do with David Moyes, you bring a knife to a gunfight when every player, a perceived big 4, and I use inverted commas there, team away from home, or Man City or Tottenham in their latter years. Ancelotti wants to go there and win. Now, whether we've got the players, whether we've got the ability to do that is a different story. But he doesn't come to clubs to just sit on his hands and finish 8th place. He wants to win things, he wants to win trophies, and that's been proven throughout his career. Even when he's not won the league, he's won cups. So anything he can win at Everton is going to make him well revered for many years to come.
I think also he appreciates the fact that we're not going to go to a City, a Liverpool, a United and dominate the game. That's never going to happen. Not anytime soon, put it that way. He's
not in this current climate now.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with, Kovac, because it's a tougher game to go into. If City hold the ball for 80% of the game, you'll get nothing out of that.
They'll pick it around you.
Yeah, they just walk around you. And Liverpool will just hit you. Well, not so much recently. I think that was just confidence issues. They showed on Sunday.
With pace, though. And
they just get at you straight away. He's got the tactical nous. The likes of Wolves away was a really good performance in my book, and it was one of the ones there was a few dodgy moments, as we've had every game this season. Pickford. I personally really like Jordan Pickford. I think he divides a fan base, which is not a great position to be in. I think a lot of people are kind of done with him after certain mistakes. Personally, they have stopped. Well, not that they've stopped, they've reduced over the past couple of weeks. There was a one against Leicester, which I feel was a little bit unfair. The ball came through a crowd of players. Yes, he should do better, but I think actually after the derby in particular, which was the best and the worst of Pickford in 90 minutes, I think he has worked on just not being erratic, just not being as daft as being so out there either way.
Yeah, something I've noticed about Pickford is he used to make a mistake pretty much once, twice a game, and you'd have that silly grin on his face after you make a mistake, as if like, oh, lads, I've messed up there off an eye, isn't it? He stopped doing that, and I think a really big contributing factor to that is Robin Olsen coming in, because it's solid competition for him. He's like, oh, Olsen's actually like a Swedish international keeper who's come from Roma. He's somebody who can provide not just back up the way that like a Stecklenberg or a Jonas Lørsel did, but actually will fight from one place and is there to grab his place, and that's sort of driven him on then to perform a bit better. But I am on the fence about him. I think he shouldn't be starting in 1 for England at the moment, but I do think he's got the potential to be the best keeper in the Premier League if he gets rid of those mistakes and doesn't get so lax with things. And he's a great shot. The thing is, he's a really good shot stopper from like short range. It's the long range efforts that he just takes his half the ball at that slip under him.
We're going to be slightly skewed being Everton fans. I'd rather ask you, Greg, if you were, as an England fan, as we all are, I suppose, who would you want starting in goal for England? Would it be Pickford? Would it be Pope?
It's a good question, isn't it?
Henderson's another one, yeah, absolutely. No, well, I think for us, because obviously being Everton fans, I'm always kind of going to back Pickford a bit more, just because he's our goalkeeper. But I can see why Nick Pope would start ahead of him.
I do like Nick Pope.
Interesting.
Yeah, I do like Nick Pope. You don't really hear a lot about the Everton lad in that as much. As a neutral, as somebody who watches League One, you don't really hear a lot about him anymore. Do you know he's not making the headlines as much as he used to? Obviously, Henderson's picked up a bit at Man United. He's been dropping in the first team 11 every now and again. You just named 3, but I bet there's a few more as well within the list that you can put into that.
Surprised?
Yeah.
I think there's only 6 English goalkeepers starting.
Not many in the first start, no. I mean,
Not as
one,
many
for
as they
me,
probably used.
one for me I'd look at if I was Gareth Southgate. I know there's a bit of a tough competition we didn't plan on going to today. I don't know if he's English, actually. He might be Irish or Welsh, I'm not sure. But Sam Johnston from West Brom.
I can have a look.
Yes.
Let's have a quick look. What's he called?
Because
Jimmy?
he's got, admittedly, a dodgy defence in front of him. I'm not going to comment on their manager yet. And they have at West Brom.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's another... We'll get to that subject later on, Jimmy. Sure, we will.
We're going to have a whole podcast about him. Oh, yeah.
That's one go. That is definitely one going forward. The Sam Allardyce episode.
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's already locked in.
Yeah.
What's the goalkeeper called that you mentioned? Sam
Johnston.
Johnston.
He was at Villa on loan initially, came from United to West Brom.
Yeah, he's place of birth, Preston. There you go.
There you go.
English. I'd give him a shout. I'd give him, if he can defend, okay, West Brom haven't been great, but if you can, do yourself a bit of justice with that West Brom team in front of you, then you can't be all bad. And he's going to get a move away from West Brom at the end of the season, I think. There'll be a Premier League club, because I think West Brom are going to go down. If they do, he's going to stay in the Premier League or have a big move abroad, potentially, even who knows. I like him. I think he's a good keeper.
I still think for the Euros, I would still, knowing Southgate, he'll play it safe.
Yeah.
If the Euros go ahead, that's still obviously,
That's another thing.
Sure,
yeah, that's something I was talking to my mates about the other day. Like, how can that be possible now? They've got to be looking at another alternative now, aren't they?
What a time to pick the multiple cities across Europe Euros. Greg, Rochdale, from afar, looks like... So I read an article the other day about you being the great entertainers or something. 4-4 draw with Crewe or something. 3 defeats at Oxford. A mad draw with Charlton. Wigan winning 5-0 away and drawing 4-4 at home. How's your heart, Dale? Because it seems to me like you're scoring 7 and conceding 8 every single week. It must be horrendous.
Oh.
It's great from a neutral point of view, but for you, it must be just...
It's heart attack football, basically. It's good in terms of we've got all different parts of the squad scoring. What I mean by that is we've got defenders scoring, we've got midfielders scoring, and we've got, obviously, Humphries is scoring. When it was last season, it was all based around Henderson in terms of goals. But now, we've done well this year in recruitment. I'm a little bit surprised, actually. Like, we managed to sign Stephen Humphries, who we had... I think it was 2 years ago. We played Tottenham in the FA Cup. He scored one of the goals when we got thumped.
Tottenham in the cup?
So we managed to sign him. Got a few players from non-league, which I'm quite pleased with, actually. We've got a lad called Beasley, who's quite good. He's always getting stuck in. Unfortunately, when we played, I think it was Plymouth away, he got stretchered off because of some sort of injury within the first 15 minutes, and I can't remember precisely what happened. I think he went for it, and the goalkeeper came out, and the goalkeeper clattered him, and he ended up getting stretchered off, but he's not scared of getting stuck in, this lad. So that's the type of player we want to be attracting, really. Players that are going to get stuck in League One. It's a difficult league, really. There's a lot of big teams in there.
We've done their time in non-league because you got that newbie from Elliot Newbie or something from Chorley. I thought that might be his brother. I don't know. I think he plays there.
Alex Newby from Chorley.
Alex Newby, sorry.
Yeah. He scored 2.
I remember.
At the weekend.
Him sign, and Chorley fans were like, he's going to do you a job in League One. He's a cracking player. As soon as Chorley had just gone down from the National League last season.
He's a good player. Sometimes he goes missing a little bit, but at the weekend he scored 2, which, he's not a striker, and I think he's got a few goals himself. But when you look, going back to what I was saying before a little bit, in terms of goals, Matty Lund has got nearly 10, and he's a midfielder. Keohane has got 5 or 6, I can't quite remember. So, that's the one. So basically, we did have the highest scoring defender, the highest scoring midfielder in League One, but we're still not managing to win. Apart from Saturday, we managed to win, but when you look at it like that, you're thinking...
Brian Barry Murphy, it's like, just shut up shop. Win a game 1-0, man.
I mean, it'd be great for my heart if we did. I'm just looking at the results.
Play 89 minutes, so, just play it compact.
Basically, we beat Plymouth 4-0 away from home. Then we got beat by Lincoln 2-0. Then Peterborough beat us 4-1. We beat Wigan 5-0. Then it gets into even silly territory. Gillingham beat us 4-1.
PlayStation game, doesn't it? After that point, it's like on easy mode of FIFA, where it's just like insane scorelines.
Bit of Ultimate Team going on there.
3-3 with Crewe, 4-4 with Charlton, 3-0 with Wigan. Doncaster beat us 1-0 and it's Gillingham 2-0. Then Oxford beating us 4-3 and it's just, you just basically could throw 2 dice and that's the score basically sometimes. But
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
At the
so
weekend,
good games for neutrals.
Well, yeah, there is that.
Neutral, like.
Yeah.
Oh, a fun fact about the Oxford game.
Yeah.
Half time, I believe somebody won a cash prize at the Oxford game.
I won the cash prize, which was a bittersweet day because, well, I was watching it and then they announced it, and I was like, because I wasn't expecting it, I was just like, I was like, 184 quid. I'm happy with that. They scored in the 93rd minute, I think, was it? So for the winner, so it was like a very bittersweet 90 odd minutes. That was like, Jesus, I've 184 quid, but bang, we've just lost in the last minute, literally.
Right. I've got a question for you then. I know this isn't really in theme of the podcast yet, but you go back in time. Rochdale 3, Oxford 3, 90th minute. You've got 184 quid in your hand. Someone says to you, give us that money, and Oxford don't get the winner. You draw 3-3.
That's a tough question. I haven't won money on anything in about 12 years. Oh, that's a difficult question, Jimmy.
But he's still taking the point.
I'm probably taking the point.
Oh, still take the point, yeah.
I'll take the point and half the money. How's that?
Money will come and go, mate.
Yeah.
Points and survival from League 2 relegation is like, or League 1 relegation is like forever. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly. That's true.
And it's Oxford. You don't want to give Timmy Mallet the satisfaction of a late winner.
I've seen him twice, Timmy Mallet. He opened up the Millgate shopping centre.
Oh, really?
Yeah, about 30 years ago. For some bizarre reason, he opened up the Millgate.
The very fact that he was there warrants a statue. A bit like Michael Jackson at Fulham.
That is very buried, that, right, guys? Who can we get to open it? Timmy Mallet, solid, yes. Solid
we've got enough facials from Barry, but let's pick some random kids' teams out of the 80s.
But the thing is, it's like, I think it was something, I don't know if it was 25 years ago since he did that, or 30 years ago, but they got him back as like a... Yeah, I'll try and find it on the internet. I'm sure it came back a few years ago to like, yay, look at me, I'm back again. But I don't know if it was to celebrate that it's been open for 25 years or 30 years. I can't remember, but I'm going off track with Timmy Mallet again. Again, like it's happened before, but it hasn't. Have we gone off on a tangent with Timmy Mallet before, Jimmy? Oh, Matt?
Probably. After a few drinks at uni, we probably
we can start.
I mean, that can be a theme for the podcast. Can we go off on a tangent with Jimmy Mallet? Jimmy Mallet? Timmy Mallet, sorry. Oh, dear me. Tongue-tied.
I think, isn't it?
That's his brother that they couldn't afford Timmy Mallet, so they've got Jimmy Mallet.
It is 2-1, by the way, with Beanish just scored.
Oh, speaking of Leeds.
Well, about 5 minutes ago.
So Leeds have got one back?
They have, yeah, about 5 minutes ago.
I'm just having a quick look on my...
I wasn't really paying attention.
Right, so...
There we go,
the January transfer deadline day has been and gone. Bit weird, as I actually forgot it was the 1st of Feb that it was meant to be happening. I was checking my phone Sunday thinking, why isn't a transfer deal was being done? I don't remember the transfer was
I expected it to be a Sunday for some bizarre reason, and I don't know why.
Because COVID. Just nothing is real anymore. Just everything is out the window. Any particular deadline day deals or generally January transfer deals that caught your eye, or Premier League, non-league, National League 2, League 1, whatever that you think are a bit surprising or a bit interesting?
I've got a few. I mean, Liverpool trying to sign every centre half in Europe is an interesting tactic.
I'm not going to lie, Matt. I put up that I was a 6'4" centre half on me Twitter, and they offered me a contract.
Yeah, it was similar. They were just trying to find anyone under the sun who would.
As you know, I'm like 5'2". There's no way out.
Yeah,
but still,
exactly.
They basically went to the NBA and were like, "Can you play centre half for us? Who's tall and can head the ball? You
get a contract."
To be fair though, I do think that Kazak from Schalke, if that's his name, is actually not a bad signing. People are laughing because Schalke have been horrendously awful this season in the Bundesliga, and they have. But that's not down to one player. I actually think he'll be quite a good backup, quite good fitting in. I imagine, I can't confess to having watched a lot of Bundesliga this year, but he's probably quite a good ball playing centre half. I think he'll suit Klopp quite well. Obviously, he knows the Bundesliga pretty well. He obviously has an eye on it. And he's been tracking him for quite a while now. Seems to be since the summer, so I think he'll be a decent player. Ben Davis, when I saw Liverpool sign Ben Davis, I thought, why had Tottenham let him go? Before I realised it's the Preston centre half.
Right, yeah.
Because that did
admittedly, I was like, oh, Sergio Reguilon's doing really well at Tottenham then if they got letting him go. But no,
just take a bail.
I don't know if it's a panic or he just looks a bit like. I mean, I'm not one to criticise any footballer because I am hopeless. but he kind of looks like your mate who's won a competition for the day out for a tour on the stadium with a photo shoot. And don't get me wrong, he'll probably turn out to be the next Bobby Moore or something. He'll be unbelievable. And Preston fans, to be fair, saying he's a really good player, but there's a difference between being sort of mid, upper end championship centre half, sort of pushing for playoffs. With the greatest respect, that's what Preston kind of are at the moment, to winning the European Cup and the Premier League. And whether and centre half's not a position where you can hide your faults. So, you know, some places you can get away with it, make a step up. But centre half, you've got, especially at the moment when they're depleted, teams are going to pick out if he does start him as a potential weakness because the pace of the game is so much quicker at the top end of the Premier League than it is in, say, the Championship.
I mean, I can't see him start. I know they've obviously they've lost Van Dijk and Gomez, but you can't really say, apart from the Villa game, the defensive record of Liverpool's isn't terrible, even with Matip, Fabinho, Henderson centre half. It's only really been Reece Williams and Nat Phillips have come in who have looked a little bit suspect. But you know what? You're thrown in to a championship winning team. That's a tough ask. Fair play to them to get stuck in. And you know, some of the games they have played in, they've done really well. Both of them epitome stop gaps. Davis, I imagine, probably stay for 6 months. Probably go out on loan maybe next year, or he'll just be there with backup. They're not bad signings. If they both feel they're both going to do a job, for 6 months until they get
I mean, the thing is, though, if you're Klopp, though, you have to be seen to be doing something. Because
it looks that way, doesn't it?
The fans, I mean, I saw a lot of fans on, I mean, you know, we've got a few mates, a lot of mates, Liverpool fans, obviously, and understandably, they were all like, why have you not done anything? Who are we going to bring in? And you're not going to go out there and sign Sergio Ramos on deadline day and sign, like, I don't know, Matt Hummels. I don't even know how good they'll these days on deadline day in January. There's a bigger deal coming in the summer there, I think. I don't know who it's going to be.
I can see it
they have to be steamed to do something.
One of the summers looking like it's going to be
Meccano.
Yeah, that seems to be the one that's linked.
He's a cracking player.
Which, like you say, if you get him, Van Dijk and Gomez,
he's unbelievable since the French guy. Yeah, he's brilliant.
You've also got to factor in as well. I mean, we don't know what. I mean, this transfer window has been notoriously quiet. COVID being the main issue, really, because it's not as easy to transfer players because of restrictions of isolation, that kind of stuff, and the money just isn't there at the moment for players to do that. You can see the likes of Arsenal getting rid of Ozil, albeit that was on the cards probably for a good 6 months.
Yeah, it was.
12 months, really.
Yeah,
but they need him off the wage bill.
Oh, he was on what? £350,000 a day.
Is that how much he was for a week?
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, and the rest probably.
You know, I'm not going to talk about why he wasn't in the squad.
No,
because I don't want to. You know, because it's gone now as well, and he's moved to Fenerbahce, and fair play, it's his boyhood club. But does anyone else find it a really strange move for him in that he probably could have had his pick of decent, like, Serie A or back to, like, maybe not so much back to Germany because he had a bit of issue with the German FA, didn't he, and the German national team, but maybe, you know, a Serie A or even La Liga type side, and he's gone to, and I mean this in every great, I mean, I think Turkish football it's really good fun to watch. There's some cracking players in there, but he's going to be setting up like that Samata guy from Villa and like a million-year-old Papi Cisse. It's a bit of a come down. Arsenal and Real Madrid, where he's been. I know he's 32, 33 now, but he's still he'll be fantastic over in Turkey, and he'll get a good payday. He'll win some trophies, and in the end of the day, you can argue if you're getting paid well and you're winning trophies, which Fenerbahce I'm sure will.
Like I say, if it's a boyhood club and that kind of stuff, I can kind of see why he's done it. It kind of makes sense. No different to, I mean, bring it back to someone like Everton. Bruni coming back to us a couple of years ago. On paper, it looked a bit of a weird deal, but actually, it made sense as well. He wants to come back.
It was an emotional deal, wasn't it? Really,
it didn't quite work
out. Unfortunately, his legs are gone, but
it didn't work out. But that's football.
Speaking though of players that moved to Turkey during the January transfer window, not that we're becoming a Turkish football podcast.
Not yet, anyway.
One that happened. Yeah, not yet. I mean, I'm sure, you know,
there's a niche.
I can do an episode in Istanbul, Başakşehir. If we get lots of traction in Turkey, it'll be absolutely fine. I can talk about that all day long.
People want it, they will come.
Just before Özil, there was a move from London to Turkey that before that, and that was Danny Drinkwater to Kashim Pasha.
That's a strange one as well.
Hands up, who's even heard of Kashim Pasha before?
No, I haven't. I mean, no.
All I'll tell you.
It sounds like a Pro Evo name.
Of course you have.
course I've heard of them. Ryan Babel once played there. That's all you need to know about that. But Danny Drinkwater, I know he flopped at Burnley, he flopped at Villa. Chelsea's never bought him. £30 million from Leicester for a player that is good, but he's not Champions League good. He's dropped to, I think, what I can only imagine, mid-table Turkish club. It's such a weird move. It's what you see on, like, Pro Evo Master League. He just appears in their team, and you're like, that would never happen in real life.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then it actually has. It's like...
I think also, to give him a bit of credit with that, he's going to get game time. He's going to play football. He's not going to be kicking at 18-year-olds in the reserves.
Well, that's one thing, isn't it?
Exactly. It is a strange move, I'll be honest. But actually, I've got to commend it to a certain extent, because you could look at a likes of Ozil, for example, players who have been sat not doing anything and taking over a pay bracket or playing a bit in the reserves, and to do something different. You know what? Fair play to him. I can't disagree with that. I can't sit there and have a go at him, because
no, absolutely no.
That makes a bit of sense.
No, and I think as well, as I always say about English players, is I'll always commend them if they try their hand abroad, because when you look at the demographic of players that come into this country from all around the world, I think there's been like over 100 nations representing the Premier League since it started. Well, probably well more than that. But not many English players tried their hand abroad. And by that, I don't mean Scotland or Wales. Like, you move to Cardiff isn't classed abroad, just so you know. Moving to Celtic, it's not abroad, guys. It's just a bit north of the border. But to try his hand in a different culture, always will commend any player at any stage of their career for trying that, because it must be such a difficult adjustment. I mean, you speak to Kevin Campbell about his time at Trabzonspor. He said it was just bizarre. He said it was the most bizarre thing. That's why he ended up coming to Everton eventually. But
that's interesting.
Yeah, anyone who tries their hand abroad for the sake of their career for game time, I'll always commend. Yeah,
I've got something. Going back to Ozil, was he a niche player for Arsenal? Is he somebody? Because I was thinking the other day, why have no other Premier League teams gone in for him? A bit like what you mentioned before. Why has he not ended up at Serie A or gone back to La Liga? Is he a niche player?
I don't think he's a niche player. I think there was clearly, obviously, a falling out between him and Arteta, which I've actually got to weirdly commend Arteta for actually standing his ground, because the easy option would be, it's Mesut Ozil, he's got to fit in that team somehow. He must come with baggage, the only way I can think of it, because like I say, Serie A, he would fit in that league beautifully. It's a technical league in particular, and he's got the skills.
It's slower pace, but more technical league, Serie A.
Exactly. She would fit in perfectly. I mean, when on form for Arsenal in that sort of first couple of seasons, he was brilliant to watch. He was absolutely, him and Sanchez and
class, wasn't he?
All those players mixing together. I think that Arsenal's a weird situation, because they're a team which, I mean, as a kid when I was growing up, you didn't like playing Arsenal because they had that midfield of the Vieiras, the Batis, the real, pardon my French, the real arseholes in midfield, but the arseholes that you want in midfield. Vieira was not,
they'd have Vieira and Petit who were nasty, but then they'd have like an Overmars, or they'd have Henry, Bergkamp, Wiltor. That nasty back four with Adams and Keown, and you're like, oh.
Exactly. I mean, compare Adams and Keown to David Luiz.
It's
just not the same. I mean, David Luiz makes me laugh.
Oh, yeah.
The red card last night is harsh. It's a really harsh red card.
I missed that.
He was going through. Is it Neto going through? I think it is. It came up later on because the Bednarek got sent off for Saints for the same sort of thing. It's being the last man but not playing the ball means you get a red card. Which the argument, I think it was watching BT with Glenn Hoddle and Rio Ferdinand, who both said, well, that's going to make players think it's okay to just let you fly in, claiming you played the ball and get a yellow card. Which one is it? It's like that's a whole other episode down the line. You could talk about how the rules, in a weird sense, you could talk about how VAR has outed some of the outdated rules of the game.
Yeah, I think that's what it's done. VAR a lot, I'm sure, but
that's VAR is. But yeah, I think Ozil, a niche player, not so much. I think he would fit in any team really to a certain extent, but you need to have pace and power around him to kind of protect him. A bit like James Rodriguez for Everton. He's a similar player to that.
Interesting.
Best way to put it. Yeah. When you've got the likes of power around him and pace around him and legs around him, really, you can make him tick, absolutely.
Yeah, I think niche, not so much, but more luxury, certainly.
That might be it.
Yeah.
And great to have when you're firing all cylinders, when you've got good attacking talent, your Aubameyangs, your Lacazettes, and so on. You even if Pepe hits form. Or if you need somebody who's going to shore up your defence, you need somebody who's going to drag your team forward, who's going to try and drag you back from a 1-goal deficit, who's going to try and be a leader, I don't think he's the player you need. Because I think he will, when it's going good, he'll be spraying balls, he'll be assisting players in all kinds of amazing ways. When the back's against the wall, and he's been criticised for this a lot, is he would tend to go missing in games when Arsenal needed him.
He's not the player you want on the pitch when you're defending a 1-0 lead with 10 minutes to go.
No.
Put it that way.
No.
You don't want him.
Or you're trying to get back a 1-0 deficit with like 10 minutes.
Exactly. You want someone who's going to, especially defending in Leeds, you want someone who's just going to sit there and do the job. And
he's going to dig in.
Dig in is the best way I can put it. And he is not, that's no discredit to him, because that's just not his type of football. And there's plenty of footballers out there who are not in that mould by any stretch. And there's a lot of players who are. And it's, the likes of, look at Sheffield United winning at Old Trafford last week. They got their goals and they dug in. That works for some, in a lot of teams that works. To need for the bigger teams, especially quality. But luxury is a good word. I would definitely describe them.
There is one transfer that I did see on deadline day. I'm going into League Two actually, Jimmy, and I'm going to ask you about Tranmere, David Nugent.
Yes, the England international goal scorer David Nugent for Tranmere Rovers. Yes.
How old is he now?
34?
Is that it?
He's not. I don't think he's actually that old. I think he's just been around that house. He plays for Bury and Preston about 10 times each. Leicester, Burnley, Portsmouth. I think
35.
35.
Right, I thought it was more. Yeah, that's about right.
He's 36 in May.
That's about right.
So a deal to the end of the season. He's got ability. Him and Vaughan up front could be lethal. Combined age is about 102 between them. No, to be fair, Vaughan's about my age, so he's only about 30, 31, I think. Yeah, I think he could do really well. I mean, Tranmere have a knack of bringing in sometimes in like big, well-known strikers. For example, you may not remember Michael Ricketts at Tranmere, who turned up.
Yes, I remember that.
He was absolutely dire. So there is form with the Tranmere signing former England's national strikers, and not good form. But I think the way Hurl's got them playing is decent. The one I'm much more excited about, I have to say, is getting McDonald on a permanent. He's been brilliant on loan from Blackpool.
Interesting.
And they've brought him in now, and he's been, again, absolutely brilliant. I think he was man of the match last night against Peterborough in the league, in the Johnson's Paint Pizza Checker LDV Vans.
Domino's Checker Trade thing.
The under 23s will throw our kids in and you can knock them about a bit cup, and that's what it's called now.
Yeah.
Another player who
To quickly interject in that, from a lower league perspective, Greg,
Mm-hmm.
Does that benefit you at all, that trophy? Because surely just add more games to a season where you're only playing 46 games.
46 league games, plus cup games.
Plus your cup games, plus league cup games. It's a lot of it.
The way I look at it from a Dale perspective is, we've never won a trophy in our history, ever. So, for a chance to be able to do that, I'm not going to turn it down. I know we might never win it, it might not be possible, but another chance to put us in another competition, I'm all for it, really. And from our perspective, we do put a lot of our youth team into the team. It's just trying to get that right balance in terms of, it's important to stay in League One, but it's what opportunities do we have to be able to play them? And it's probably that type of competition that we can put the Luke Mathesons in, or whoever, I can't think of anybody else at the top of my head, but players that we've had before, that we can give them the minutes. And if we lose, in my opinion, it's not like the end of the world, but if we win, it's one of those, it's like a strange, I'm not ecstatic when we win, but it's like, oh, well, that's a bonus. And then if we lose, it's like, well, it doesn't matter, all it's not like it's a league game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think to hammer that point home a bit more was, obviously last night I was just following the Tranmere Peterborough game a little bit. I wasn't watching or anything. Thinking, it's Peterborough, always lose to Peterborough. I remember going to a cup game a few years ago.
I hate Peterborough as well. I
can't stand playing Peterborough. We see them come in the cup every year, whether it's the FA Cup or the League Cup or this time Pizza Cup. Papa John, sorry. Can we use sponsorship, I suppose?
The Papa Shango Cup.
Yeah, it's fine.
Papa Shango Trophy. The Papa Loves Mango Trophy. And the fact that Rovers won, they're now one game away from Wembley.
Is that what it is?
Exciting. The semi-finals against whoever, and then the final is at Wembley. Okay. The weird thing is that they haven't played last year's final yet between Portsmouth and Salford.
Have they not?
Have they not?
No.
How's that happened then? Because they didn't
I reckon
what?
they're probably going to play back-to-back finals.
What's surprising? Put the same pitch at Wembley.
They're back-to-back finals. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Could you
Probably
unify
the
them?
same time,
Unify.
Unify. The winner
Yeah,
gets
so
2 cups for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, the fact that Rovers are 1 game away from Wembley. Okay, the fans can't go, but it's a game away from Wembley. It's a game away from a trophy. It's like a third-rate competition. You'd rather win the league or League Cup or the FA Cup or whatever league. Trophy's the trophy, and the day you're right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just looking at Tranmere's form at the minute. I've got them on my phone on their recent fixtures. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games unbeaten. And the last 1, 2, 3, 4. You've won 5 on the spin. And then they drew with Stevenage. And then I think before then was the Leicester Academy game. But if you look at that, that's a hell of a run at the moment. And form can carry. Well, I was trying to say that before, but I couldn't do it quick enough. But form can carry from these type of competitions into the league. Look at Tranmere at the moment. This is something that can happen at Rochdale and the smaller clubs. Tranmere is an example of that. What you're on about, the 1 game away from Wembley.
Happens League 1, League 2 up and down. Teams start poorly and go on a great run of form and pick it up, and who knows where it takes them.
Exactly.
On Tranmere, it's the first time they've looked after Mickey Mellon left.
I love that name.
It was a tough one because it gets a great name in it. It was a tough one because he was such an integral part of the rise up to League One.
From the National League, from the tough times under Gary Robin, and before that, and Mickey had League 2, and then.
Exactly. I think they found someone in the Hill who first of all knows the league, knows what he's doing, can
knows League 2,
win your games. Sometimes might not be pretty, but in League 2, like I say, the joke about you taking 184 quid, it's points on the board. As long as you get the points on the board, it's all that matters. I've got a few mates who are Tranmere fans. I've got a mate of mine who generally pretty much when he could, obviously used to go home and away, so he used to take a hold of it. And I think their point of view was just the promotion to League One was just madness, and I think they were, obviously really unlucky with what happened.
Absolutely.
The points per game system.
Yeah.
And I think they had a point to prove. It didn't start too well, but he's starting now to really gel a team. And they look like a good team.
Starting to look like a team for the first time since they were demoted. Yeah.
Which is always going to be tough. It's not easy to pick yourself up after going down by various margins.
Losing Mellon obviously has done the United, which was unfortunate. It was a chance to go back to Scotland. Be in the Scottish Premier League, fair enough, go with our blessings. Not forgetting as well, that team that got up over 2 years, they lost Norwood to Ipswich the year before. Connor Jennings went to Stockport, and there are others, quite a few players that got the side up 2 years in a row to other sides, and it's hard to replace those players and that chemistry as well. Yeah, which I think I have to credit the captain Scott Davis for, because he's been there since the first year of the National League, and he's been an ever-present. He's had his moments in goal, but you know what? He's been a solid servant to Rovers for the last 5-6 years, and he's a good captain. Fair play as well. Obviously, it should be said as well, Steve McNulty, Big Steve. He left when they got promoted to League One, and that you say, his legs have gone at league level, and he would admit it himself. Probably went to York City, and I think he's gone to Win Albion now in the 7th tier. But he was a big influence in the dressing room, and you can't
replace that.
It takes time to bounce back when you've lost some key influences, like in any working environment, doesn't it? Really, I think they're doing well, and we'll just see how it goes. Yeah.
Keith Hill, I suppose he does know League Two. If you look at it face value, he knows League Two. He can get out of League Two. He can get promotion. He knows a lot of League Two, League One players. He's probably got the rapport from obviously Rochdale, and I don't know if there's any from Barnsley or Bolt. I don't know, but he probably does still have that in his locker to be able to get a few players in and get them in at least in the top 7. I think it's a strong possibility.
Well, he's got Ali Crawford on loan from Bolton as well, so I don't know whether he would have managed him at Bolton last season, Crawford, but he obviously, regardless of whether he managed him last season or not, he's got him from Bolton. Speaking of a full Bolton player, Greg, I thought you'd be interested in this story. Another deadline day deal I saw, I don't know if you saw it, Joe Bunny.
Oh yes, I did.
Right,
yes.
Obviously from Rochdale. Went to Northampton, didn't he? Moved to Bolton. And then whilst at Bolton, he had a car accident, didn't he? He was released by Bolton. I only read this yesterday. Had to come back from his car accident, being released by Bolton, played for Matlock Town in the 7th for a couple of games, then up to Hartlepool, and now has landed a contract back in League Two at Grimsby. So I just thought that's a really good little feel-good story. He's obviously he's a cracking player. Good little League One, League Two player. He's had a decent career, Rochdale, Northampton, Bolton, suffered a real adversity, and has come back from that. Had to do his dues down at Matlock, with great respect to Matlock Town. But then has obviously worked his way back up the non-league with Hartlepool, who should be way above non-league if you ask me.
Yeah.
And then obviously now landed a decent deal. Grimsby, hopefully he can help get Grimsby out of trouble as well, because I know they're right down there in League Two at the moment.
It's funny you should mention Joe Bunny. I'm on a WhatsApp group with other Rochdale fans. There's about 10 of us, and we couldn't find a name what to call it apart from the Rochdale supporting blah blah blah. And somebody came up with calling it the Joe Bunny support group. So I'm not joking. It's actually I'll try and find it. Like there it is. So that's our little homage to Joe Bunny. Yeah. So there is a good player in Joe. Me and my mum and dad actually saw him at the Reebok when was it last season we played Bolton, and he were injured like what you were saying before. He's got like a cast on or like a sling, what have you. And we were talking to him he were walking around the Reebok as we were going in, and my dad said, "Hey, that's Joe Bunny." So we had a good chat with him just before we were going in the stadium, and I asked him, how are you doing and all that. Like, he said, "Yeah, just recovering." At the time, we were a few months away from coming back, I think, or a few weeks at least to football. We just hope that you do, get back to full fitness and what have you. And he's a cracking lad. It was him and his girlfriend actually, but he's a fantastic lad. I'm always keep an eye on ex-Dale players, but he's a very good lad. At one point we had him up front, and then I think we had him at left back, and he seemed to be better from the left back position because he had a bit more time to run at the opposition. I think that's what Hilly were trying to get out of him a little bit more, but when he were up front, maybe didn't have a lot of time to react. I don't know what that was, but yeah, we stuck him in a few different positions. I remember I think he had a good game at Bradford away one year. I was talking to a Bradford fan, and I said at the time he wasn't playing very well, Bunny. And I said, "Oh, he's not very good." And then got a text off the Bradford fan saying, "I thought you said he wasn't very good." And I said, "Were you winding me up?" I went, "No, he wasn't very good, but now he's playing a blinder." He's one of those players that can pop up and do something. Yeah. He's got it in him, but he did dip in and out. Yeah, it's good to see Joe at a team.
On transfers, the two I picked out, Anthony Gordon going to Preston.
Yes, good move.
Seems like a good move altogether. And then Benny Beningame linking up with Wayne Rooney. I think he'll do a good job at Derby. I think he'll do a really good job.
Player.
It's good to see we've had the right centre-back. Branthwaite gone out to Blackburn on loan for the next 6 months.
Blackburn fans love Jared Branthwaite.
The best first game at Middlesbrough.
Didn't he have an argument with Neil Warnock, but then...
Have you not seen the incident? It's not a great incident. It's not on purpose. He goes up, it's a free kick comes in from the far left.
Right.
And it's a high boot, and he catches the centre forward or the centre half in the face. They get away with it, but they don't know how there wasn't a penalty given because it looked stonewall to me when I saw it back on Twitter. But after that, he got man of the match last week, and I saw Alan Myers tweet that on Twitter. He's settled in pretty well. I think they've got a good core group of players there who they can get the experience in the Championship. Gordon in particular, I like Anthony Gordon.
I really like him. Yeah.
Too soon for him for the Premier League.
Yeah, he looks a bit lightweight still.
I think, and even he came out and said, he goes, my issue isn't necessarily going forward, it was the defensive aspect of it, which is what I think Ancelotti really likes his fingers to do. And it's what I think he really likes about, in particular, Alex Iwobi, is that yes, they're good going forward, but they do the job when they've got to come back and defend. But yeah, I think for all three of those players, it's a really good experience to be in the Championship, especially this season as well.
How do you think Rooney's going to get on as a manager? How do you think that'll pan out?
I don't know what I envisaged him doing at the end of his footballing career. I still find it hard to believe he's retired from football because it just makes me feel old. Because I remember him coming through as a 16. Well, I remember watching the youth final against Aston Villa in 2002, and I was all raving over him. And then his home debut against Tottenham.
Yeah, it seems
and
unreal.
then him score against that amazing goal against Arsenal. He scored.
Yeah.
Beat Arsenal 2-1. He absolutely smashed it past Seaman. And now he's had his career. He's had an unbelievable career. People, I think, have absolutely underrated him throughout his career because he hasn't quite hit the heights of Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi.
Yeah.
Well, that's unfair because that's like saying, just because your car isn't a Ferrari means it's a pile of rubbish. But, he's had he's England's goal scorer, United's record goal scorer, won everything just to win the club game. It's just weird that he's retired from football. But as a manager, to go back to your point, I don't know, he seems to have been quite positive. And he's obviously done his studying behind the scenes at Derby. And he's obviously worked as a coach there for the past year since he joined. I hope he does well. But I also hope he does well, but doesn't get rushed into a bigger job because he's English, because he's Wayne Rooney, a la Frank Lampard.
I was just going to say Lampard.
And especially the Derby connection as well, where he ends up landing the job at a big club in the Premier League. Do your time, do your base in the lower leagues and the Championship or wherever, you know, and I'll say this for any young English or whatever coach, whether you're a former international, whether you're just some run-of-the-mill, whatever player in the Championship League One in your career, don't rush too quick because there's plenty of years in management and he needs to get a good ground in a derby before getting jobs, I don't know, like the Everton job or like, say, the Man United job. Who knows in the future if he's good enough? Why not? But
he's also a name, isn't he? So that's there's a possibility that he could get a big job because he's a name, a bit like we was mentioning about Lampard. Obviously, Gerrard is he's up there at Rangers.
Gerrard has shown how to do it. I think he's actually doing a great job at Rangers.
He's not walked into a small club though. I'm not saying Derby's a small club. It's not.
No,
but he's not. He's walked into a club that if you don't finish in the top two, it's a failure, complete failure. If your aim was basically knock Celtic off their perch, which he's going to do this season, but relative to the league he's in, to not yet won a cup and to not yet finished higher than second is actually not great. I mean, obviously we know a Rangers fan, don't we, James? Greg. Sorry,
yes.
Called James.
Yeah, he's called James.
If he fancies coming on for a chat about Rangers at some point, obviously, I know, depends on him. But I'd be intrigued to hear what he thinks about Steven Gerrard, really, because from what I see it is he's recruited really well. But and that's not to discredit the Scottish League at all, far from it, because a lot of managers go up there and struggle. But I'd like to see him try his hand in the Championship, maybe bigger, and Championship club, and see if he can cope with that, rather than, with a great respect, playing the likes of Ross County and Hamilton. Different. Rangers, obviously, a massive club.
To do that, I mean, to give him the credit, though, to go into a job like Rangers, which comes with its expectation, and I mean, it looks like they're going to win the league this season, barring pretty incredible capitulation, if that's what happens.
Yeah.
It really would be top level. I've got to give him credit for that. I think it doesn't make him a shoo-in for, I don't know, a Liverpool job going forward when Klopp does eventually leave. Rooney, for me, is a strange one because actually the one thing I always loved about Wayne Rooney is his football brain was phenomenal. And still is phenomenal. Everton have 1-2-1.
Yeah.
I was just going to mention.
And Liverpool losing to Brighton.
Liverpool losing to Brighton?
They are. Brighton just scored. I don't know who scored.
It is.
It was...
to be confirmed.
It just popped up on my phone and I just left.
Stephen Alzate, the English-Colombian guy.
That's the one. But yeah, 1-0 up.
That's unexpected.
There is another strange result. Granada are beating Barcelona 2-0.
They've won.
They are.
They're beating
the Copa del Rey, isn't it?
Copa del Rey. Oh, the Copa del Rey.
Is that a strange result? It is, isn't it?
That is a strange result, yeah, absolutely.
It's a strange result.
About 15
minutes. Spanish football is a bit weird this season, like.
About 15
minutes.
Did you see
Madrid? Was it Madrid in the Copa del Rey got knocked out by some third-tier Spanish team?
Madrid got knocked out by some lower league team. I think Atletico went out of it as well, didn't they? Fun fact about the Copa del Rey, linked in a bit with Papa John's Pizza Trophy type thing before about how they haven't played last year's final yet. They haven't played last year's Copa del Rey final yet.
Really?
Which is due to be between Athletic Bilbao and Real Sociedad, the Basque derby. Now, the reason why they haven't played it was because both clubs wanted fans to be in attendance. It's a big derby, it's a Basque derby, Basque nationalism. In the Spanish Cup final, we want to have supporters. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, the 2020 Copa del Rey final is yet to be played, but it's still ongoing. Real Sociedad, I think the other week, got knocked out of the 2021 Copa del Rey.
Right.
So they are currently in the final of last year's, yet to be played.
So they could be the whole.
They're out of this year, so they can win the cup, but won't be able to defend it because they're already out of the previous, the resulting competition. They may well be.
Jesse Lingard has just scored for West Ham.
What?
Oh, that's somebody's bet ribbon.
They're 2 up at Aston Villa. Suchet got the first, and Lingard has just scored.
Yeah, I've just seen this now.
You know what?
I'm seeing it.
Jay Lings is that guy. Now, he will be a good. Talking briefly back on transfers, he will be quite good under Moyes. He's the kind of player Moyes would get the best out of.
I can imagine that. Yeah.
And West Ham's a good environment for him as well, because it's a club that, at the moment, they're doing really well, but potential's massive at West Ham. Any funny or interesting football-related stories that you've seen or heard of?
My favourite one of the past 24 hours, actually. Does anyone on this one, I know I do it, has anyone done fantasy football this season?
No, I haven't.
I haven't done fantasy football in years. I keep forgetting to do it, so.
It's the first season. Normally, I'm a bit like most people. I do it for the first few weeks and then forget all about it. And before you know it, it's the middle of April. But this year, because of lockdown and COVID, been a bit more interested in it, making a few substitutions, making a few transfers. I did quite enjoy last night that because of Southampton losing 9-0 and due to Bednarek getting sent off, he actually got -7 in his points total for the night. So there's also a feature this year which you can use, which is called triple captain. So the idea is you pick one player as your captain. For example, normally it's doubled, so I picked Ilkay Gundogan this week, who thankfully got an assist. Thank you, Ilkay, for listening. I doubt you are.
He might do.
You never know. You never know. But there was a triple captain who one lad did select Jan Bednar, who got -21, which is a tough start to fancy football for a game week. Not making that back anytime soon, bless him.
No.
Yeah, -21. That's
a bit like Luton in 2009, isn't it? -30 points difference at the start of the season. Yeah. You ain't making that back, mate.
Exactly. So that's my funny story. I read that this morning and had to laugh at it just as the one guy who was clearly not going to be active this morning. That's apparently after that, I think 30,000 people transferred him out of their team.
How many thousand?
30,000 people transferred Bednarek out of that defence.
Wow. Gee,
I can understand why you would.
Greg, what have you got anything?
So I went down a strange rabbit hole about player transfers that have involved being sold for food. I found two which are quite bizarre. I'll go with the sausages one first. Romania is obviously the land of meat-based transfer fees. I can't pronounce this guy's name. Marius Tiarayo, can't pronounce his name. Made the move from the 2nd division to the 4th division for a fee consisting entirely of sausages. Now, I was thinking the other day, as soon as I read this, I was thinking, right, okay. In a strange world where, say, for instance, if you couldn't buy a player from, with money.
So you had to barter and haggle.
You had to barter and haggle. This is one for the people that are listening as well. They can send us a tweet if they want to. What would be the strange? Okay. What would you?
What would each football be worth in food?
Yes, exactly. You can't use money.
Right. So you might say, I don't know. Go on.
So I reckon if I was trying to sell Gylfi Sigurdsson, I would take pretty minimal food, even vegan food. Alfredo, some anchovies.
German inflation is measured in price of Alfredo, so
whatever food, whatever, as long as he gets him off my wage bill.
He scored tonight though, so I feel I could do a whole podcast based on food. If you are listening, if anyone is listening, first off, if you're listening from Romania, I apologise for us completely butchering all the names of your people that we can't pronounce. No. It's a difficult language to pronounce. Secondly, if anyone is listening, please send in which footballer you think would be worth what amount of food. Which food and how much of it would you pay? For example, would you pay, 4 packets of Spam for Paul Pogba?
I like when you say packets, like packets of Spam. Like you rip the top of it open, like it's space food.
No, we're not talking about posh tins with little keys and that here. No, we're talking about just plastic packets of Spam that don't belong, that have probably got off.
Astronaut food.
Plain food.
There's a strange one that obviously I found the sausage transfer, and there's another one with a player called Kenneth Christensen, and that transfer involved his own weight in shrimp. And I'm reading further on thinking this can't be true. And it was something that they basically throughout the transfer, they weren't sure if it was deadly serious or it was a joke. So they've gone through, yes, we would like your player. And someone said, they don't know if he's having him on or not. And then they get to the end of it and they were having him on. But I like the fact that somebody could be conned, that I would like that player, but in his ways in shrimp. At what point do you think, right, well, this must be a negotiation?
Do you reckon they had to go to the negotiation room and the guy walked in with like a big bag of shrimp, put it on the table and was like, show us the money. I've got more. Yeah, just poured it out on the table. It just splattered everywhere.
Forklift full of crab sticks.
And the chairman's like, sorry guys, I've got a fish allergy. This is not the way we wanted to go here.
Oh, God. Speaking of allergies, this is a segue. And we seem to think that I'm lactose intolerant. It's not quite an allergy, but it's lactose intolerant.
Greg, do you just fart?
What's that?
Yeah.
Do you just fart a lot?
No, that's the true thing.
Yeah, is it just gas?
What's that, sorry?
It's gas,
It's just gas, isn't it?
I had bellyache after a yoghurt and an eaten mess.
What was it?
Right. Okay. So maybe I don't. Maybe I need to speak with your girlfriend.
So essentially, right, if Greg was a footballer, don't pay for him in ice cream.
No, it's not happening.
Yeah.
It'll end in turmoil. It'll absolutely end in turmoil.
Right. I've got a bizarre, well, I'll say bizarre transfer. It's not really bizarre. It's a deadline day transfer. You might have seen this on social media, actually. Olivier Ncham, Celtic, well, formerly Celtic player, moved to Marseille on loan deadline day over the last couple of days, which caused, who remembers Andre Villas-Boas, the former Chelsea, Porto, Tottenham manager? Yeah?
Yes.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Andre Villas-Boas, Marseille manager, resigned as a result of the Marseille board signing Olivier Ncham from Celtic because he didn't want him.
When was this?
I read this.
Today. Imagine being
Today?
Olivier Ncham. You've just signed for Marseille. Big club, great opportunity, signed for Marseille, and your own manager resigns because he doesn't want you that much. He's willing to quit his job, forgo any severance pay for being sacked. All of that because he doesn't like you as a player that much that he's willing to just walk away from his entire job.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, bless him. It's going to be an awkward first training session for that tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah. The other lads are going to be like,
morning, guys.
Guys, Dimitri.
Andre.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah, hello.
He's done a runner.
Bearing in mind, Marseille have bought Stephen Fletcher before now and nobody resigned. So, I mean, that's the level we're working at here.
I mean, is that like a huge elaborate joke, I wonder, and he comes back tomorrow?
Could be.
I don't know. Yeah, I thought that was just really weird. And my bizarre story I found, actually, there's loads more around the world, but I thought I'd start with one in England, and most namely in Yorkshire. Obviously, Greg and I went to university in Yorkshire, University of Huddersfield. Big up, represent.
Respect.
Yeah, just shout out if anyone's listening. No one's listening. And basically a story where a man was arrested in the middle of a Sunday League game whilst playing Sunday League. It was a man, this was in 2009. He was age 33, and apparently he was arrested playing for East End FC in somewhere in Yorkshire, South Yorkshire way, because he had actually broken out of prison on charges. He got charged on drug and gun offences in 2006, broke out of prison, and no one could find him for 6 months, and he started playing for his local Sunday League team.
Wow.
And basically the police turned up in the middle of a Sunday League game and arrested him on the pitch.
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
And the Collins eyewitness is like, well, he must have got really confident because he's 6 foot with ginger hair, you could hardly miss him. He was playing centre half. So, you know, the funniest bit of it all is that he was taken back to Malden Prison in South Yorkshire and tried at Leeds Magistrates, I think. But East End, in the end, still won 6-3 in the game, despite having to play the rest of the game with 10 men. Because you couldn't exactly bring a sub on, could you? Your player's been arrested. You're not exactly going to bring a sub on. It's like he's been sent off in the most unbelievable way. So, guy basically broke out of prison, played for a Sunday League team, and got arrested mid-game, and the team still won with 10 men. I mean, it makes you wonder why he got to play him, really, because he obviously wasn't that good.
It's like something out of Mike Bassett a little bit. Could you imagine that?
Yeah,
like Wacko getting arrested or something like that.
I would say Wacko is right.
Gary Wacko, yeah, definitely Wacko.
That's unbelievable.
That's still the best line of Mike Bassett. Gary Wackett shakes up a broken jaw.
Two in the middle.
Oh, we love that.
Both just like...
Did you ever go and watch it in the cinema, Mike Bassett?
No, I watched it on DVD.
We went to watch it in the cinema in Rochdale, and there was some sort of deal where if you were wearing an England kit, you got a discount. Yeah, I remember that because I wore... Was it a reversible red kit? The one that Beckham scored against Argentina penalty.
Argentina, wasn't it? Yeah.
I remember wearing that kit. Oh, no, I could be wrong. I might have got my years wrong if it was that kit. But yeah, there was definitely a deal on that. If you wear an England kit, you can a couple of quid knocked off the tickets or something. Anyway, wow. Cinema's being open. Crikey, what a great pastime. That's everything for this week. We should be back in about 2 weeks for episode 2. If you would like to send us any questions on Twitter, we are Men in Blue Podcast on Twitter, and the hashtag is MIB Podcast. And thank you all for listening.
Sports Social Podcast Network.